And welcome back to Around the Waves on KCOU 88.1 FM Columbia. I'm Luca Vitale alongside me, Ben Schmidt. All right, let's get to some NFL action to sort of close out our show today. The AFC is just stacked, Ben, okay? We got the Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens, the Buffalo Bills. Those are only a few teams in that conference that are just stacked, and they can make some noise come postseason time. Last weekend, we did see the Kansas City Chiefs. They marched into Tampa Bay, and they carved up that Tampa secondary after a hot start to the season. And the Tampa Bay defense before that game, pretty good. But the Kansas City Chiefs reminded us who they really are. So I guess I'll start here because I did start you with everything else, but that's okay. Did the Kansas City Chiefs' dominant win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road prove they are the best team in the AFC? Me personally, no. I'm sorry if I made listeners very angry. I'm sorry. I still do not believe the Kansas City Chiefs are the best team in the AFC. In fact, I believe they're the third best team in the AFC. The Ravens are the second best team, in my opinion. But listen, the Buffalo Bills' lone loss this season was against the Miami Dolphins team a couple of weeks ago. And personally, the Buffalo Bills should have won that game. They basically outscored, outgained, outpossession time the Dolphins in about everything they could have possibly done. They never won the game, though, and obviously wins and losses, that's all we really care about in football. But if you really break down the analytics, you will see, well, the Bills should have won that game. Ben, I just want to give you this quick stat. The Bills have scored 114 points this season. They've only given up just 23. So both sides of the ball, clearly, just elite. Josh Allen, MVP candidate in my book. He's not the MVP, but he is an MVP candidate. And Matt Milano, he will be back, I believe, this weekend. Tre'Davious White, he will be back. He'll be back very soon. But just stopping Josh Allen and what he has been able to establish this season so far, coming back from last season, doesn't look like that's going to happen. This Buffalo offense is just phenomenal. I mean, when you got somebody like Stephon Diggs, having that connection between Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, that is something that has been established. It's chemistry related. They established this in practice, and they just work on it every single time. Now, granted, yes, Tre'Davious White is out. Yes, they lost Pro Bowl safety Mekhi Hyde to a season injury, which is the one that you were talking about last weekend. I think it was a neck injury, if I'm not mistaken. But obviously, Dane Johnson, he's been sidelined with another scary neck injury, I don't know what's going on with neck injuries. And Jordan Poirier, who is I believe it's a foot injury, he is going to come back sooner rather than later. And Ben, I'm sure you know this name, Xavier Rhodes. They had to pick him off the street, basically, to play in the secondary. So, stopping Josh Allen, very unlikely, like I said. This dude is just that good. He is able to escape pressure. He has those he can establish those moves like Patrick Mahomes. Now, granted, that's spin and jump. I don't know if Josh Allen could do that. That's something that is special. But we're now into week 4. The Bills, they look dramatically better in one department, and that's in rush defense compared to last year. They weren't that great against the run game last year. They rank second right now with 57 yards a game, and per attempt, it's 2.8. So that is very good. Number one, I believe, if I had to guess, is the San Francisco 49ers. I wouldn't be shocked. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are number 3. But opponents do matter. I will give you that. Opponents do matter. The Rams and the Dolphins, they are better at throwing the football than running it. That is true. And don't get me started on Matthew Stafford. In the Bills, they crushed the Titans. That was just an embarrassment. They didn't even have a chance to run the football because how much they were down. But remember, this team has beefed themselves up over the summer. There's not another way to say that. I'm sorry. You got Von Miller, who is the heart and soul of that defense. You got Shaq Lawson. You got Tim Settle. You got Taquan Jones. You got Jordan Phillips, which I believe are great additions to that defense that was already established, and they're just going to get better. But obviously on that offense, in my opinion, you got to somehow get Gabe Davis and Isaiah McKenzie more involved. So that way that's eventually going to open up Stephon Diggs with more opportunities in the pass game. Get Devin Singletary involved more because this dude is good. Just get him in the backfield and give him some catches. Like, use him as like a Christian McCaffrey at times. So that way that could give the pressure off Stephon Diggs more, and that can use him more in the offense.
Want to start with this. Was that stat a moment ago that you brought up about the run? Was that run defense that the Bills are third in? Was that what that was?
So last year they were 11th.
Okay.
This year they're second.
They're second. Yeah. Take a guess just at who's first. And you said the 49ers.
Yeah,
it's the Kansas City Chiefs.
They're first?
They
really?
Who I would have never guessed.
Me neither.
And I will
well,
say,
congrats to the Chiefs.
Yeah, part of it is skewed because they faced a Bucs team that ran the ball with Fournette like 3 times last week.
Well, yeah, I mean, they were down the whole game. They had to pass.
So that's I think part of it. But yeah, right now the Chiefs
That's
defense.
why I said some of these are skewed.
Yes, absolutely. So I don't think the Chiefs end the season as the best rushing defense. They have given up the least amount so far, though, per game, only averaging 65.8 yards a game. I think the Chiefs are still the best team because they have the best quarterback in the league. I don't need to bore you with the stats, but just use the eye test and go and watch that.
He is the best quarterback in the league.
Yes, that you brought it up. That spinning, jumping, touchdown pass to Clyde. I think if you go and watch that, just watching, you'll agree with me on that. He played great the other night. Kelsey, despite all the hype this offseason that Mark Andrews was getting after his incredible season, Kelsey is still the best tight end in the league. They're going to win the AFC West again this year. I don't really think that there's another team that is competing anywhere near with the Chiefs in the West right now, outside of maybe a healthy Chargers team that took them down to the wire in Arrowhead a few weeks ago. Watch for Isaiah Pacheco to start to make a little bit more noise in this offense. I mean, Chris Collinsworth was talking about him a lot on the broadcast, how much the Chiefs offense thinks of him, and he got more and more touches last week. I like him as a more physical runner than both Jerick McKinnon and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So there is no shortage of weapons for Patrick Mahomes, and I don't think the defense will finish the season with the numbers that like they currently have as being some of the better ones in the league. The pass defense, you brought this up, is not really anything special for Kansas City, but I have a feeling, I think they can outscore pretty much any team that they go up against, especially if it's Buffalo. They play Buffalo a few weeks, and somehow it's always in Kansas City. It feels like Chiefs-Bills.
Week 6, right?
Yeah, is always in Kansas City. How does that happen? There's never a game like between those two in Buffalo. I think the Chiefs win that game at home and really prove themselves as still the superior team. You threw the Ravens in there as well. I think the Chiefs would dominate the Ravens just because they would destroy that secondary, and I think that's going to be a problem for Baltimore. So I'm still going to roll with the Chiefs. I already talked about them a whole lot during the top 5 teams of the week list, so don't need to talk about it some more. But when you have the best quarterback, and I know tight end is not the most important, but they have the best tight end and one of the best coaches, if not the best. Andy Reid. I don't think I'd put Andy Reid at the best coach right now. He's one of the best.
He's one of
them.
I was going to say, I'm like, come on.
He's not the best.
Okay.
There's plenty of talent there, and I have to pick this team just because they tend to rise up against Buffalo. And if Buffalo wins that game in 2 weeks, I will totally change my mind and admit that the Bills are better. I'm going to roll with the Chiefs right now, though.
Remember, we can change our minds because
absolutely.
Everything changes. Every day is a new day. So let's think about this. The last weekend that we saw, we'll finish. 9:53. Okay. So the Bills finished against the Ravens. They were down 14-3 at the start of the second quarter, right? Josh Allen went 16 of 27 for 182 yards and a touchdown, and then rushed for 62 yards and another score in the final 3 quarters of the game. This is a dude that can rise up to the challenge, and that is who he is. That is who Josh Allen is. And a couple of years ago, in his 3rd year, we were talking about this dude was going to be in the NFL. That is how good Josh Allen is, and I believe when these two teams square off at Arrowhead, and I believe it is week 6. So when that happens, that is going to be fun to watch because we're going to have 2 great quarterbacks, so it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, I'll give credit real quick here to Josh Allen because there are not a lot of quarterbacks who climb out of that hole in the fashion that he did last week, but I think one of them that can is on that Chiefs side of the field, and that's Patrick Mahomes. So the Chiefs... Andy Reid is I guarantee, going to come into that Bills game with some pretty stellar first drive scripting. Travis Kelce talks about every week how their first 15 is always so much fun because, Andy Reid has been working at that for weeks. So I expect the Chiefs in that game to jump out early. It should be a high-scoring shootout, but I'm going to take the Chiefs.